Hey everyone, it's Brother Steve Sprott here, and this episode is brought to you by MasonGearShop.com. Now, Mason Gear carries an extensive offering of Masonic t-shirts, hats, and accessories to help you show off your Masonic pride. And for the month of September, first 3 Knox listeners get 20% off their orders when they use coupon code MasonGearShop357. That's MasonGearShop357 at checkout. Be sure to visit their website at www.masongearshop.com or check them out on Facebook and Instagram.
On today's episode, we're covering part 3 of our series. We'll be discussing Masonic fact or fiction.
You're listening to the First 3 Knox, a Masonic podcast in the District of York, where we discuss topics for the betterment of Masonry. The opinions discussed in this podcast are those of the individual and do not represent the views of Grand Lodge or any other Masonic body. Now, here are your hosts.
Good afternoon, brethren. Happy September.
Hello, hello.
Happy September. That summer went pretty quick, eh?
Yeah, it went by too fast. I'm worshipful brother Bert Tellier here with brother Gino Scovio and brother Steve Sprott. We are your hosts on the First 3 Knox, and we are covering the third part of our series, Masonic fact or fiction. So in the first episode, we covered what is Freemasonry. On our last episode, we talked about how to join, and today's episode, of course, we're going to be discussing what to expect.
Awesome.
So, Brother Scovio, there are a lot of conspiracy theories, would you say, about Freemasonry out there?
Just a few.
Yeah, just a few. They're pretty interesting, actually. They're getting more elaborate, too. I think that's the interesting part.
Well, with all this social media, again, sky's the limit on how elaborate they can become, and there are a handful out there.
Yeah, I think we probably have to start with the most obvious one. So, Gino, are there goats?
The big mystery of the goat. The only goat I know is Tom Brady.
Ooh.
But no, I'm going to debunk that one. To my knowledge and through my experience, and I've gone quite a bit beyond Craft and Blue Lodge, I have not seen nor have partaken in any ritual with any goats.
Well, there you have it.
Are there any animals?
No. Again, I haven't seen any chickens, any goats, any horses,
although
any
there might be a
horses'
couple
heads.
of raccoons up here in the Rising Sun Lodge. I know they get through.
I pulled a bat out of the corner once, cleaning up the chairs there. There was a bat that didn't make it out, and it was collecting dust.
Here's another good one that gets a lot of airtime: is Freemasonry, the Illuminati.
Oh, taking over the world. Ooh. Right? What's that? Jay-Z.
New World Order, I think.
New World Order. Yeah. I'm going to probably, again, 1,000% debunk that one as well. I didn't join to take over the world, but I thought, maybe I'll be a part of it. And
you were disappointed.
Course, yeah, it's like the cartoon The Brain. We're going
Dinky
to take over the world. I've been highly disappointed on that one.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be anything going on there. And one of the best jokes I've heard mentioned about our Freemasons taking over the world is just the good parts.
Yeah.
How about this one? It's a way of becoming rich and powerful.
Rich and powerful. I've heard that before, too. I've heard that only the rich can afford to be Masons. Mm-hmm.
I'm not rich and I'm a Mason.
I was going to say, I'm as poor as they come.
Poor and powerless, maybe.
Poor,
that might be
penniless, and powerless. And
have you profited whatsoever off Masonry since
not
you've
at all.
Been a Mason in
not
4
at
years,
all.
5 years?
Again, another topic of that and debunking that is, I've always been told some people try to come in to network and make profit, but very quickly they discover Masonry is not for them, and they just don't show up anymore. So
I think the biggest thing is it doesn't work.
Well, it doesn't work
because nobody cares about that. You get into lodge, and sure, we all come from different professions, and there's certainly a network of friends working together spiritually, I guess would be a good way to say it. But there is absolutely no benefit. In fact, I would say it might even be a counter benefit being involved in Masonry because Masons hold each other to much higher standards than
Yeah.
the general population.
Yeah.
So, earning business through Masonry might be the hardest way forward.
So unlike Willy Wonka and the golden ticket, there is no golden ticket.
No. I have to say that one's a great big fiction. How about control over politics? We hear a lot about that.
Well, again, I'm going to debunk that right away. I think that we certainly see a handful of very high-profile people who might be Masons, but I don't think that they've gotten to where they are just because they're Mason. Again, the whole thing of Masonry is becoming a better man. And so maybe for them, it might have been an avenue that they could, again, improve themselves and better themselves.
Their skill set.
But I do fancy politics, and it is something that I've put my name in the ring before, and I came out flat. So if it did, I don't see. Well, I didn't win.
Yeah, there was no big benefit from it. That's for
No,
sure. Huh?
not at all.
Yeah, no, it kind of makes sense that a lot of leaders, I'll say not even political leaders, but just leaders in general, typically come from Freemasonry, because the skill set that you develop in social intercourse, planning, working together, leading, working on committees, all those experiences and skill sets allow you to be a leader.
Absolutely.
Essentially. So it's not a huge surprise that a lot of Freemasons are leaders, because that's really what you're developing.
Exactly. And the cool thing, again, in some of the history here in this lodge, we've had Sir Richard Mulock, a predominant individual in Newmarket. Dr. Hillary, one of the first doctors out in
Dr.
this
Hillary's.
region, the Dr. Hillarys. But when they were here, as much as they might have been successful in their own professions, and I don't believe it was through Masonry itself, they were the same as you and I.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing I like about Masonry.
That's the beauty of it, really, is regardless of your race, religion, creed, none of those things matter. We're all brothers.
We're all on the level.
Yeah.
And we generally don't talk about it. I mean, this conversation right now is the most I've ever talked about politics with a Mason. So,
yeah, I guess if you were joining Freemasonry hoping to get a political gain or a financial gain in your business, sorry to disappoint, guys, but you're at the wrong place.
Yep.
Absolutely. Oh, maybe I'll throw this one in for some of the wives and spouses, but is Masonry really one meeting a month?
I'm going to, again, debunk that. It is one meeting a month, which is called a regular meeting. But then we have emergent meetings peppered in there. We have some charities and things that we do. So like in part 2, we talked how much you want to put in is how much you want to take out. So I'm going to say there's more than one meeting.
so out of those, how many are mandatory?
I guess the right answer is none, because Masonry is not a mandatory fraternity. It is very much encouraged that you attend your regular and certainly your emergent meetings to offer your support to the new candidates or the brethren going through their degrees. But Masonry itself, like I said, it's how much you put in that you want to take out. Nothing is mandatory. It's strictly voluntary. And so often we have that conversation and those, I guess, struggles in, well, someone said I had to do this. No, you don't.
No.
You know, if you want to, do it. If
You have to
don't,
make a decision.
do it. Yeah.
You have to decide. You have to prioritize
Yep.
and come to the conclusion how you want to invest your time. That's a requirement of life.
Absolutely.
Not even a requirement of Masonry. It's just a requirement of life. I would say this, there certainly is a lot of meetings, a lot of opportunity to attend more than one meeting, would be fair to say. But the upside of those meetings or events is you get so much out of it.
Yep.
And I think that's probably what drives most Masons back, is the camaraderie, the new learning, connecting dots. That really is the motivation for people to go. Now, I share that very openly because I have a missus at home as well who would like some clarification on, is it one meeting a month? And I'm pretty sure she's come to the conclusion it's not.
Yeah,
So,
especially as of late.
As of late, yeah. Certainly in the master year, it has been something else. But again, it comes back to putting priority in the right places and then taking care, number one, of your family. That is the most important thing.
Yep.
Then your profession.
Yep.
Then Freemasonry.
You got it.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about this one. Blood sacrifices. Boy, the internet's pretty interesting. Huh?
Well, maybe because the bat was in the corner. I don't know if it was like, vampire style. But once again, I've gone quite a journey through Craft Lodge and through the York Rite side, almost a Templar, and never once have they drawn blood.
Came out
or
unscathed?
No, yeah.
How about us being a religious organization? Would you say Freemasons are a religious organization?
Yeah, I hear that all the time too. I don't want to join anything that is going to be authoritative and religious, and we don't talk about religion or politics when we close that door. So I don't know where that's come from. We do have what we call the volume of the sacred law. But again, to everybody who comes from a different denomination and does practice different religions, that volume of the sacred law could be any book, and it's welcome to be opened at our altar. Mm-hmm. So we learn from some teaching, but other than that, we're not religious.
No. We do have a requirement that you have to believe in a supreme being.
Yeah.
Very simply.
And I think we've mentioned this before. We've had a good story, I think, here in York region or within the Toronto district not too long ago, where a supreme being was an eagle. So the eagle feather came in because it was a native. So again, it doesn't even have to be a book per se.
It's what you as an individual believe, not a communal belief as Freemasons, right? And it's more to, I guess, take your oath and be accountable for your actions.
Well said.
Well said. Very well said. This next one's a little bit interesting. We often see in the media and certainly on the web, 33rd degree Mason. What's your take on that?
The 33rd, the famous 33rd degree Mason. That's the secret. Those are the secret guys.
Those are the guys running the world.
Those are the guys that are running the world and whatnot. Yeah. You do have to be invited. Ultimately, I believe the invite comes from recognizing your Masonic career and what charity work you do, not just with your own lodge, but outside your own lodge. There's 2 ways you can potentially get to that point. One's on the Scottish Rite, which certainly has a degree for every step that you take. So Craft Lodge and Blue Lodge is what we're a part of here at the Rising Sun and what we refer to all the time. You can only get 3 degrees there.
Yeah.
And then if you are, there are different ways and different bodies that you can join, the Scottish Rite being one that could lead you to the 32nd degree where you can take on your own. And then again, you get an invite should you be the qualified candidate that they feel would be part of the 33rd degree council. Mm-hmm. And then you have the York Rite side, which is infamously known for the Royal Arch Masons and ultimately the Knights Templar.
Right. And
we have a little poster downstairs that kind of shows you your degrees, and I guess the Knights Templar sits on that same platform of the 33rd. It's never been referred to, and I'm going through that right now. We've never been referred to when we go to those bodies as, 16th degree or 33rd. You're just a Royal Arch Mason. You're just a Knights Templar, and that's
learning more.
Yeah,
learning more. Yeah, that's an interesting one. That seems to have had a lot of play.
And again, the 33rd degree guys that I've met, they are not presidents. They are not CFOs, CEOs. They might be rich in their being, but I don't see them rich materially speaking.
Yeah.
Although,
are they worshiping any devils? That's what we need to know.
No, there's no worshiping of devils or goats or blood or any of that stuff. They're just regular folk like you and I. And again, what's nice is as much as everybody might have different paths they've chosen, Craft Lodge, you're all no more than a 3rd degree member.
Yeah.
We're all on the level.
Yeah. it's we had our Aurora street sale that we attend, of course, and had the opportunity to work that, and had a gentleman come up to me with one of the most beautiful conspiracy stories I have ever heard.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, no, you missed that one. But
one.
he proceeded to tell me that I didn't know who Freemasons were.
Oh.
Which I would say I disagree, because I am one and actually master.
It's funny that they
lodge.
always know more about Freemasonry than you do.
Well, it is amazing. It is amazing. But his story was even more amazing, and he connected the dots on how the Freemasons were related to Atlantis and ancient aliens and giants from thousands of years ago, all the way up to Satan worshiping. And that's how we ended up running the world. So,
awesome.
The circular story that we went through was pretty spectacular. And from an entertainment point of view, it was great.
Did you ask him to join?
I had a hard enough time keeping up with this conspiracy, quite frankly. But none of that is true. I certainly have never seen any of those things come together, and hate to disappoint all the internet fans out there, but it is just the opposite of everything that's being described out there. So glad that we can have our own voice and tell the story that is really going on.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's clear the secretary's desk. For the week happening September 16th, I think the very first thing is a big event that Zeradeth is hosting. I can't remember. Brother Sprott.
There's something going on at your lodge there, Brother Sprott?
I think we're celebrating a birthday or something. Something like that.
Zeradeth Lodge's 150th birthday celebration. This is going to be a huge event. We have the Grand Master, most worshipful, Brother David J. Cameron, who's going to be in attendance for this. And of course, the banquet is sold out. Big surprise. The guys at Zeradeth do such a great job. But if you are a Mason and you'd like to come to Lodge, they definitely have room for you. So they'd love to see you there.
And on the 17th, what do we got going on there?
Oh, a little something going on here at the Rising Sun Lodge. It is
that's right, it's here.
Very, very special reception for our very own, very worshipful Brother Mike Redmond on his appointment to Grand Lodge as Grand Steward. And so at 6:30 p.m., we're going to be having a ceremony for Masons only here at the Lodge. And we'll be going back to St. Andrews Valley Golf Club for a special reception for family and friends.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. That same week on Wednesday, September 18th, Richmond Lodge will have their regular meeting. And also on the Saturday, talking about Day Lodge, Robertson Lodge on Saturday, September 21st, will be having their meeting. Their meeting starts at 10 a.m.
Great. And finally, we'll get one more in here for Zeradeth, of course, is their Scotch and Cigar Night that will be coming up on October 19th. And Steve, you gave me some tickets tonight, so we'll be handing them out to the brethren tomorrow, of course. That's at 6:30, and that is an event that cannot be missed. It's $50 per ticket. And do you have any other info you want to share on that one?
Yeah, we have some Masonic vendors coming, so you can pick up some swag. First Three Knocks will be there. Maybe we'll do a podcast, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll go live.
Yeah. And we're just going to have a great time. We have a whiskey expert coming in to walk us through some single malt scotches. And we also have a cigar vendor coming in that will be on site selling cigars. So it should be a great night.
Awesome. And then, not to pull the calendar back, but again, we don't have the full details as of yet, but September 26th, I believe, another reception will be for the newly appointed Grand Steward, very worshipful Brother Randall Hutchinson from Tuscan Lodge. And
Tuscan
I was told,
Lodge.
actually, just a few minutes ago on email, more details will come in the next few days.
Excellent.
And I believe that covers our secretary's desk.
Maybe we could talk a little bit about some of the expectations once you become a Freemason. What has been your experience becoming a Freemason? What are the?
So again, like I say, it's what you put in is what you get out of it. And I remember in my earlier time, and I say earlier time, I've been a Mason now for going into 5 years. So I'm still very new at the craft. And I remember in one of I was finally given a piece, a very small piece to help with the ritual. Wasn't going through the actual degree myself. And I remember saying to one of the senior guys, well, I hope it meets your expectations. And they said, no, you're wrong. It's on your own expectation.
Right.
You know? So again, I didn't know much because I didn't have any family members who were Masons, and I didn't have that history in my family, in my bloodline anyway. I'm still looking to see if there's anything or anybody there, but I can't seem to find or locate that. So my expectations were, I guess, unknown, and it was just a full mystery. I thoroughly enjoyed my initiation.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the hard work that I saw my new brothers put in and deliver some really good ritual and work. So that kind of laid a good foundation for me to kind of follow that
example.
Mm-hmm. And then, you go to some other lodges and they don't have the same, I don't know, level of work. And it very well could be just, as a master, as something happens at the 11th hour and they got to fill in and they might not be, so polished. So again, here at the Rising Sun, for me, it's been really good being a part of it, because we do have a level and a standard that has been created. And I'm seeing all the newer guys living up to those nice levels and standards. And it's not, I don't think it's not achievable. It's just, again, it's part of Masonry.
Right.
Being a better man.
Yeah.
So far it's been great.
I think there's really some higher expectations. I mean, I've said this in other episodes before, and it's definitely been my experience. Some of the more seasoned brothers at the Rising Sun are a good example, but expectations are that you do know your stuff, and you've spent time working, and that comes back to Masonic values, which really is to go to work. Mm-hmm. That is the expectation, is to go to work. I heard a great story. I attended a seminar down in Richmond Hill, and there was a brother there who was giving a protocol and etiquette seminar on the first degree. And so this was a much more experienced brother who was from Grand Lodge, and he was explaining the first time he went through and did his junior warden lecture. And for those who are involved in Masonry and know the junior warden lecture, it is a very big piece.
Yep.
It's a lot of memory work, a lot of activity involved in it, and it's probably the biggest challenge that a Mason faces in their career in Blue Lodge. There's more, but of course that's one of the big ones.
One of the big ones.
And he was talking about going through a very difficult period of time in his life. He had lost his job. His wife was an alcoholic. She was needing to be committed, and he was learning the junior warden's lecture for Lodge.
The perfect storm,
right? And so he goes into Lodge one night, and there's a practice, and of course he's kind of down in the dumps, and he's going through a difficult time, and he's talking to some of the senior brethren and telling the story, and they feel very, they're empathetic for his plight. And so he's there, he says, I'm almost in tears, my hands, my head is in my hands. And the last thing on my mind is the junior warden's lecture. And then one of the brother puts his arms around me and says, that's great, but how's your junior warden's lecture? And he says, then it hit me that the expectations are just higher.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, because through that difficulty and that work comes big reward.
Absolutely.
So his point that he shared in that speech, of course, was go to work.
Yeah, get it done.
Get it done. Some of the other things that kind of stick out for me in terms of what to expect with Freemasonry is get yourself involved. You'll find when you join, that you may feel somewhat isolated because you don't know what's going on. I think, Steve, you said it earlier in one of the other episodes, the confusion as to what's happening. Gino, you've mentioned that in your experience as well, what's happening. But it's almost the precursor for you to get yourself involved. It's not as simple as somebody just coming to take you by the hand saying, okay, let's do all this together. You need to step up.
Yeah.
You need to step up because the expectations are higher.
Yeah.
And if you want to be a better version of yourself, that is required.
It teaches you to just get out and ask. Again, like, no silly question is a stupid question at all. And when you really don't know what's going on in the very beginning, we have our lives and are leading them also. And we sometimes might forget that you are so new and don't know what to ask. So therefore we forget sometimes to remind you of the things that you might be wanting to work on or looking at ahead in your career. So, if you're waiting for someone, like you said, to hold your hand and carry you along, it's not going to come.
Yeah.
You get some gentle reminders and some pushes here and there, but ask. And so that I could certainly give the biggest advice to any new Masons out there is don't be afraid to ask. As a brother, even for the very first time as an initiate, we're always here for you.
Yeah.
And that, again, was something our current senior warden, Mark Ogley, said to me. You'll get it when you get the 3rd degree. You're never a burden to your brothers. Call, email, text.
Push
us. Ask us.
Yeah.
We're here for you. If you don't ask, we don't know you have a question.
Yeah.
Or we don't know that you might be stuck on something. So please lean on us. And then, again, the magic came in that 3rd degree.
Well, that raises a point for me that I think is very critical for people who are getting into Masonry, is the importance of working with others. That doesn't come easily.
No.
That shouldn't be easy. You're supposed to earn it.
Yeah.
You're supposed to feel some discomfort from it. I mean, the best way I would describe it is going into kindergarten and leaving your mother for the first time,
Wow.
right? Like, what a tough experience. You don't know anybody. You've never been to this place. You don't know what's expected, and here you are trying to figure it out. And of course, what happens? You make a couple of friends, you play a few games, and then it becomes your lifelong learning experience.
Yep.
I would say Freemasonry is the same. And the interesting thing about Freemasonry is that everyone's going through at their own level, in their own way. And even the senior brethren are continually learning. I mean, we have guys in our lodge in their 80s and 90s who are still working on pieces,
Yep.
still climbing that mountain, just going for it, right? And they're not thinking about the confusion that an entered apprentice is going through when they come
not at
into the
all.
building, because they've forgotten all that.
Yep.
But they're still working on stuff that they're trying to figure out because that's their path, not everybody else's path. They're not the same. And I love that about Freemasonry.
That's a great point.
You're on a personal journey together.
Yep.
I mean, what more beautiful could it be?
It's your own journey on your own way, but millions of brethren have gone through the same rituals.
Yes.
And that's, for me, again, a cool aspect of it, that, anywhere in the world at any time within when it was, we've all gone through the same 1st, 2nd, and 3rd degree. Not much has changed in the tradition of those rituals over the many years, but it's that blows my mind.
Yeah. Our experience here in Aurora, Ontario, and Uxbridge, and Boston, Massachusetts, Arizona, England, Australia, all the same. Some slight variations to the ritual, but really not much. Really not much. Well, I hope we've given our audience a good overview of what is Freemasonry. I think we covered a lot of space, a lot of important subjects, and it kind of brings me to the point that if you want to learn more about Freemasonry, we've given you some resources in episode 2, whether it's a Grand Lodge website, yorkdistrict.ca is another one, the team app we talked about, Netflix, Inside Freemasonry, and of course, don't forget, if you want to learn more, reach out to us directly here on the show at thefirst3knocks@gmail.com.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The First 3 Knocks. Happy to meet, sorry to part, happy to meet again.